All right, good morning, everybody. It is October 25th. It is 10 o'clock, and that means it's time for Don's American Songbook. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. It's great to stay up late. Good morning. Good morning to you. When the band began to play, the stars were shining bright. Now the milkman's on his way, it's too late to say goodnight. So good morning, good morning.
Sunbeams will soon smile through. Good morning to you and you and you and you. Good morning. We've gabbed the whole night through. Good morning to you.
Nothing could be grander than to be in Louisiana
In the morning, it's great to stay up late. Good morning to you.
Might be just as zippy if we was in Mississippi.
When we left the movie show, the future wasn't bright, but came the dawn, the show goes on, and I don't want to say goodnight.
So say good morning.
Good morning. Rainbows are shining through. Good morning.
Good morning.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Buenos dias.
Muchos días.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Good morning.
Guten Morgen.
Good morning to you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I hope you are all having a wonderful day. I know I am. Today, I have a treat for you all. Yes, you will get to hear the great music from the first half of the 20th century, but I have a very special guest with me on this particular show. Today, I'm here with Patty Farmer, author of the new book, Playboy Swings. She's here in Chicago from New York, and we will be talking about her newest book. Playboy Swings highlights the history of Playboy's involvement on the jazz music scene, its impact on popular entertainment, and it talks about the performers and the songwriters who performed at the Playboy clubs and the jazz festivals. So this is a great topic for this show, and I think you're going to enjoy it. The book is due out very soon. So, Patty, hello and welcome. Just to clarify, can you tell my audience about the official release date of the book?
Actually, it was supposed to be October 12th, and we're just a day or two behind schedule. So any day you can find Playboy Swings, how Hugh Hefner and Playboy changed the face of music in your bookstores. And if you don't see it, ask for it.
Excellent. All right, so before this interview, we were talking a lot about different topics relating to Playboy. I have to ask, what inspired you to start writing this book?
Well, my passion's entertainment history. And all the years that I've been doing research, I kept coming across entertainers who told me, I did this or I did that at Playboy, or I was at the Playboy Jazz Festival, or I was on Hef's TV show. And so that just led me to do more and more research. And the more I dug, the more gold I found. It seems that everybody I spoke to, as I said, had worked or started at Playboy, and I found an amazing fact that for almost 20 years, 2 decades, Playboy was the largest employer of entertainment in the country. And I found that amazing and something I didn't know. So I thought my readers would enjoy hearing about the journey and how it started and how they helped a lot of performers along the way.
Mm-hmm. That's something I noticed too. When I heard about this book, I said, that's great. Like, I'm glad someone wrote about this, because a little while ago, this might have been a year or two ago, I read an article that was written, it was something to the effect of Hugh Hefner, civil rights pioneer, ? And then talked about Bobby Short and Hugh Hefner. What do you think about that?
Well, you're absolutely right. Hef was a civil rights champion. And you have to understand, when he opened the Playboy clubs, and the first Playboy club here in Chicago, it was in 1960, which was, of course, prior to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And most of the country still had segregation laws in effect, which I think both of us are too young to have lived through. But unfortunately, it was a fact of the country. And Hefner was one of the few truly colorblind people you would meet. It wasn't like he had an agenda and he said, I'm going to integrate the clubs, I'm going to integrate the festival. he just did it, and he was a lot of times shocked by the repercussions. On his TV show, Playboy's Penthouse, he had Nat King Cole as one of his guests. And this was 1959, and to have Nat King Cole come out and sit on the couch and discuss literature with a white woman, you and I are sitting here in 2015, and, it's not that big a deal at all. It's not even anything to talk about. But in 1959, it was shocking. And Hef suffered the consequences. He had both advertisers and networks that threatened to leave him, to boycott the show if he continued. And, Hef said, of course, he was going to continue. Great talent was great talent. And that's why that particular show was only 2 years. His networks dwindled down to almost nothing, and the advertisers, especially from the South, just cut advertising.
It's unbelievable to think about a time in our country that was like that, but that was a reality. Now, did you get to talk to Hugh for this book?
I did. I'm happy to report that Hef, even at 89, is still going strong, still loves good music, good entertainment, and I was up at the mansion not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and had fried chicken and mashed potatoes and got to watch a movie, a picnic it was.
That's a good one. Wow, that's so interesting. What do you think about jazz now with Playboy? Is there still a presence?
Oh, definitely. We still have the Playboy Jazz Festival, which is, every year, as soon as it's over, even, you have artists that are jockeying for position in the following year's lineup. So it's a very prestigious venue to play at. And, from the beginning, the first one was 1959, Hef really tried to further the popularity of jazz specifically at that time. And it's gotten a little bit more inclusive during the later years, but definitely still pushing the popularity. And I think that was one of Playboy and Hugh Hefner's big contributions. He took jazz in the 1950s from a music that primarily was a dance music and made it a concert, or furthered, the idea of jazz as a concert music, where people actually paid money to sit down and listen to the music, and with the jazz festival, sometimes they do it for days.
That's right. It sort of made it America's classical music.
Absolutely. Yeah, good way to put it.
Right. Well, that's really interesting. I'm glad that there's still a presence there. Sometimes it's hard to think about the jazz component of it, which was, I think, probably strongest in the late 50s and early 60s before the Beatles and the British invasion, kind of keeping the jazz a part of Playboy, but they're just so wedded to each other. Now, I imagine you interviewed probably some very great names for this book. Can you give me some people that you got insight from?
Yeah, I was happy enough and fortunate enough to be able to talk to hundreds of people, and part of my writing style is I let them tell the story, where they can, and we still have a lot of these folks around, Sonny Rollins, who's a hero of mine, and I was fortunate enough to have him share stories and tell me the importance, and he credits Hefner with integrating and helping to advance jazz, with the festival. He integrated both the stages and the audience at that time. Again, we're going back to 1959 for the first festival. But so I spoke to Sonny Rollins. I spoke to Al Jarreau. Great stories from Al, and just Ramsey Lewis, and on, just many people. Tony Bennett. I can't even think of them at the moment, and it's funny because somebody asked me, can you list, maybe it would be a cool thing if you put a list in the book of everyone who worked a Playboy venue, and I had to chuckle because I said, it would be easier to make a list of people who hadn't performed at a Playboy showcase.
Right. That's true. That list reads like a list of some of the greatest interpreters of the song throughout time. That must have been a thrill.
Oh, absolutely. On Playboy Penthouse, you had people again like Tony Bennett and Sammy Davis, Nat King Cole, Cy Coleman, on and on and on. Just wonderful, wonderful people. Some who were starting their careers and others who were really at the top of their game.
Right. So many different people that you talked to and so many different resources I'm sure you consulted, whether they were people or archives. What were some of your main sources for getting information? I'm always interested in that.
It took me about 3 years to write the book. And about a year into the process of doing the researching and going to, the libraries and talking to people and talking to Playboy executives and people that were there, I picked up the phone one day, and the gentleman on the other end introduced himself. He said, "Hi, I'm Steve Martinez, and Mr. Hefner asked me to call. I'm his personal archivist, and he would like to invite you to go through his personal archives." So that was just a treasure trove of information there.
Wow, you can't beat that. I've seen that. I've seen that collection, and just even little snippets of it in clips.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's very, very, very detailed. Hef has kept everything going back to really grade school days, and that was just his personal collection, and then the Playboy organization also has their own. So there was a lot of good information, a lot of work, going through and finding all the details. But it was just a ball and a work of joy.
That's great. I have to ask, what was the most interesting thing that you found in that collection?
Oh my gosh, you really put me on the spot here, Don.
Sorry.
There was one letter I came across to the key owners of the New Orleans Club. And again, this is 1961, and we're talking New Orleans, which had very, very strict segregation laws. And it was a letter that Hef had written to key holders because the New Orleans Club was a franchise arrangement with Playboy and some franchisees, and they were running it as a segregated club. And I came across a letter that Hef wrote to the key holders saying that he was taking the club back. He was going to run it according to his personal beliefs and the beliefs of Playboy, and it would be an integrated club, and asking them just to hang in there with him and know that he was working as hard as he could. That was one thing that, gave me the chills. And another was some correspondence with the author Ian Fleming.
Right.
And Ian Fleming wrote short stories for Playboy back in the early days. He wrote 7 short stories before James Bond was really popular. And those short stories were actually later made into movies. On Her Majesty's Secret Service was made from one of the short stories for Playboy.
Wow, see, now that I didn't know. That is very interesting.
It was a big, important relationship that Hugh Hefner and Ian Fleming had, and I think they both admired each other because Ian later went on to write and model James Bond after the Playboy ideal.
Right.
And in Diamonds Are Forever, I don't know if you ever saw it, but at one point James Bond pulls out his wallet, and next to his license to kill is a Playboy club card.
Oh,
Yeah, so and it goes back and forth a lot.
yeah. Wow, that's so interesting. I did not know that. Well, that sounds like a fascinating collection to go through. So 3 years worth of research. That's a lot of time. I have to ask, this show that I do is about songwriters traditionally. It's based on standards, which is why I sought you out, and it's based on a lot of it jazz. Did you come across anything about composers? I know Cy Coleman wrote the Playboy theme, and how about Ray Anthony? Did you meet Ray Anthony?
I've met Ray Anthony. He's still a fixture up at the mansion.
Right.
And, when I mentioned I was at the mansion for dinner, fried chicken and mashed potatoes a couple weeks ago, Ray was there. And so we have spoken. We've spoken about music. We talked about the Playboy days. So he was a huge part of the Playboy experience right from the beginning, and a big influence on Hef.
Right. That's great. What did you come across with Cy Coleman?
Just, pretty much what we spoke about. They were friendly, and he noodled out, the Playboy theme. Many people don't realize the quality of entertainers that came through the Playboy venues, for lack of a better word, and through their friendship with Hef, really contributed. Johnny Mathis, Mel Torme, they were all personal friends here in Chicago, and if they were working in the city, they'd come and hang out at the Playboy offices with Hef and talk music. And Hef and Victor Lowndes would go after work and listen to wherever they were playing. So it was hand in hand. Mabel Mercer was one of the first performers, and that was how Hugh Hefner and Victor Lowndes bonded. And that, for those of you who don't know, Victor Lowndes was kind of second in charge at Playboy. He was a friend of Hef's and ended up working there, and they bonded over Mabel Mercer, and that was one of the first wonderful singers that they had perform at the Playboy Club, and Bobby Short also.
Yeah, those are some of the best names in jazz interpretation, and Bobby Short, a wonderful piano player. So I have to ask, we're a show based in Chicago, obviously, or just outside of Chicago. What are some of the most interesting Chicago connections that jazz and Playboy have had?
Oh my gosh, again, there's so many. Ramsey Lewis, before they had the clubs, Hef and Victor would go and listen to Ramsey play over at the Cloister Inn, and then once they had the clubs, he came and played. And when the clubs were up and going, I found it fascinating that one of the first performers was Aretha Franklin here in Chicago. Wow. It was her first paid gig. Up until then, she had been sang in church, and Aretha Franklin played the piano and sang at the Chicago Club. And a funny little story, Victor Lowndes was in charge of the clubs, and Keith Hefner, who was Hef's brother, also worked at the clubs. And Keith wasn't so sure he liked Aretha, and so he told Victor, he said, that gal that's singing and playing the piano, I'm not so sure how long we should keep her. And Victor said, I love her, we're keeping her. And Victor told me, he said to this day, whenever he can, he rips Keith about, about not wanting to keep Aretha. But, just so many connections, so many comics came through Chicago. You have Dick Gregory, who to this day credits Hef with breaking the color barriers. Talking to Dick, he kind of summed it up very succinctly. He said, Hef didn't care if you were black, white, or purple, only if you could swing an instrument, sing a song, or tell a joke. And that really, really was Hef. It really is Hef.
Yeah, that is so interesting to me, the impact that he had on that. You don't really think of civil rights or important issues like that coming up, but it's really fascinating what he did.
Yeah, Hef was really an activist and a quiet activist. He didn't do things with the thought of, I'll make this stand and consequently Playboy will get a lot of publicity for doing good. Many things were not found out about until later. People like me, when they started digging, they found out that he would send lawyers to defend, somebody, whose First Amendment rights were being challenged, down in the South. So he was a great champion of civil rights, of gay rights, of women's rights, of really all rights. First Amendment rights included.
It was really wonderful of him. A great presence, really did a lot of good with his fame. Are you partial to any jazz interpreters or jazz players, either instruments or vocally?
I definitely like jazz. That is my go-to music, the Great American Songbook and jazz, just like Hef. And this is my first visit to Chicago, and I think we were chatting about how I definitely wanted to come back and sample some of your great clubs. But more so, I know New York, and whenever I have the opportunity, I see Freddie Cole over at, the Blue Note, or Ramsey Lewis still. Dee Dee Bridgewater is a great one. Gregory Porter, some of the more contemporary, artists of our day. So, I love the old and I love the new, and I'm very interested in the upcoming crop of performers. I see a lot more young people getting into jazz, where for a long time it kind of looked like it was dwindling. You have places like Juilliard actually have degrees, in jazz. You can go for jazz studies now, so that's interesting. And around, any town you can find young jazz players that people haven't heard of yet, but are up and coming.
Mm-hmm. So jazz seems to be thriving a little bit, where cabaret seems to not as much.
I that's a question. Why? Cabaret, they sure, give it their heart and soul. The cabaret conventions going on in New York, and those guys and gals are out there, every night doing great shows, and they're out there. We just need to get out there and find them and support them. The small clubs, unfortunately, are closing, so the venues for them to play, which I know I'm partial to the Playboy clubs, but the places like the Playboy clubs, which had a circuit and gave performers, cabaret performers, a stage. Sometimes 40 weeks out of the year they could play the circuit and work on whatever it was, their singing or their instruments, and get paid for it. We don't have that anymore. The small clubs are closing rapidly.
Yeah. We lost the Oak Room just a few years ago. A lot of ones like that. There's some smaller ones there's Metropolitan Room, I think, that's still around, and 54 Below, and so there's still a presence out there. It's going out and finding them and supporting them, I guess.
Right. Michael Feinstein just formed a partnership with 54 Below, so we're hoping that we see even more over there. But, I think the larger venues are squeezing out, making it a little bit more difficult. I think Madison Square Garden did it, where, a performer could go and perform in front of thousands of people in one shot rather than do 8 shows a night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not Hef's living room.
Right.
I want to take another minute to talk about your other book, the one previously before the Persian Room Presents. For my listeners who don't know, can you just tell us a little bit about that book?
Well, the Persian Room was a great nightclub that was located in the Plaza Hotel in New York City. And it's funny because we're talking about Playboy and we're talking about the Persian Room, and they're really opposite ends of a coin. The Playboy clubs offered a venue for artists to work on their craft, and they were starting out. And the Persian Room was, as Diane Carroll told me, she said, you knew you made it once you were booked to perform at the Persian Room. It was an elegant nightclub, so much so that it was mentioned in many movies. You had Humphrey Bogart tell Miss McCardle in Sabrina, book me table for 2 for Sabrina and myself at the Persian Room. So it was just a gorgeous supper club with top drawer entertainment.
Mm-hmm. And your book highlights the history of it. Mm-hmm. What was the most interesting thing you found out about the Persian Room throughout that research?
It was just the progression of it. It was open for 40 years, starting in 1934. It opened kind of as a send-off to Prohibition. Prohibition ended, and they wanted to open a club that, you could drink and dance and listen to great performers. Well, actually, at that time, it was mainly dance teams that were the show. But the progression through the years, the 30s, you started getting entertainers like Hildegard. Mm-hmm. She was really the fixture of the Persian Room. And the 50s saw, again, just wonderful people, Diane Carroll and the Leslie Uggams, just on and on, just top drawer. Jack Jones, shared stories about being there. Diane Carroll, Celeste Holmes. It was such an honor to play there that Celeste Holmes was doing the Broadway show Oklahoma, and she told me she would end her show and almost strip, running through the streets of New York to get to the Persian Room to do the late show at the Persian Room. And I asked her, I said, Celeste, you were on Broadway, why, did you take a job doing the late show at the Persian Room? And she looked at me like I fell from the moon, and she said, Patty, it's the Persian Room. It was any opportunity you had to perform there, you did it. So it was quite spectacular, and the book has a lot of fun stories about that. And again, the performers tell them in their own words.
Right. That's going to be a fascinating read, and it is. It's out. It came out a few years ago now.
3 years ago.
Right. But what fun topics to research. That is so great. And Kay Thompson, too, had a lot to do with the Persian Room.
Definitely. Kay Thompson and the Williams brothers. Before Andy Williams was a solo performer, he performed with his brothers, his 3 brothers. There were 4 of them, and they backed up Kay Thompson. So there are a lot of fun stories in there.
Now, did you know that Kay Thompson actually wrote a song for Andy Williams?
Which one was that?
Promise Me Love.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she did write that song and it became a minor hit for Andy Williams, which is always kind of interesting to me, but I think would also do vocal arranging.
Well, Kay Thompson and Andy were an item.
Only from you I know that, because I did read that in the book.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, she would do vocal arrangements, and I think Hugh Martin. Now, do you know the songwriter Hugh Martin? I thought she was a wonderful vocal arranger and took a lot of tips from her. So that's interesting. Now, I run 2 different Facebook pages. I run one for my show, Don's American Songbook, and then I run one for Hildegard, just called The Incomparable Hildegard. So I'm always interested in her. And I think while doing my research before doing this, you interviewed Don Dallaire.
I did, and Don in later years was her manager. Of course, in the early years, Anna Sasenko famously managed Hildegard, and just some fascinating stories about Hildegard and about how she came to be, really. Many people thought she was French because she took a break from singing in the United States and went to France. And when she came back, she sang with a little bit of a French accent. But she was wonderful, and she was known for wearing these elegant long gloves. That was part of her signature. And I found out in writing The Persian Room Presents that came about by accident because she played the piano, and at one point or one show, she couldn't get her gloves off in time, and so she played with them on. And everybody thought that was intended, and she received accolades for doing that. And she said, well, anything that works, I'll stick with.
Right. That I did not know that happened. That was at the Persian Room then?
Yeah.
That's funny. Because, the handing out of the roses, now you know where that started.
Remind me.
The Palmer House in Chicago.
Oh, that's amazing. Bouncing back and forth a little bit, we're talking about Hildegard, and I don't know why it made me think of this, but you had asked me earlier about something that surprised me in writing about the Playboy clubs, and that was, again, the quality of people that performed there, and 2 people I never would have expected. One was Marlene Dietrich and Mitzi Gaynor. And, of course, I couldn't speak to Marlene, but I got to speak to Mitzi, and she had great stories.
Yeah.
So that was just popped into my head now.
Right. She has good stories. She's a very interesting lady.
Mitzi's great.
Mm-hmm. And she knew a lot of the greats, too. Well, then this is going to be a real treat to get. So it is Playboy Swings, and it's coming out any day now, and everyone should pick up a copy because it sounds like it's going to be a wonderful read. So, Patty, I want to thank you for coming out and doing my show and giving me the time to do this. And let me know next time you're in Chicago.
I definitely will, and it's been so much fun talking to you, Don, and sharing stories, and I learned a lot of things tonight from you that I didn't know.
It's supposed to be the other way around.
Well, hopefully maybe you learned a thing.
Oh, it was. Yes, I did.
So, well, thank you so much for your interest.
Yes, and thank you. I'm really looking forward to the book. All right, wonderful. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that interview with Patty Farmer. I have to thank her again. Such a wonderful lady. That what you heard there, that last song, that was the Playboy theme that was written by the great Cy Coleman in 1960. So that was Cy Coleman with his orchestra, and the orchestra was conducted under the direction of Henry Brandon for Playboy Records. So hopefully you enjoyed that too. And I mean, it's such an iconic sound, and really spoke to the influence of jazz on Playboy, and in some ways Playboy on jazz. It made it very popular. So again, thank you, Patty, for that. Well, welcome to the music portion of the show. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview. I have a lot of great music to play for you. You get kind of a variety. I know that for the past couple of weeks, or actually just last week, or the last show, I had a little hiatus because I got busy. The last show I played Nostalgia, which was the first track off the Sammy Kahn record that I played. Now I have the second track off of it, and this one is Style. It's Sammy Kahn performing Style, which I'm sure you've never heard. I had not heard it before this. The song was, of course, featured in the 1964 film Robin and the Seven Hoods, and the music was by Jimmy Van Heusen. Kahn wrote the lyrics. So I'm going to play that for you now. Here's Style, Sammy Kahn, right here on Don's American Songbook.
You've either got or you haven't got style. If you've got it, it stands out a mile. A flower's not a flower when it's wilted, and a hat's not a hat till it's tilted. You've either got or you haven't got class. How it draws the applause of the masses when you wear lapels like the swellest of swells. You can pass any mirror and a smile. You've either got or you haven't got or you haven't got or you haven't got style. You've either got or you haven't got style. If you have it, it stands out a mile. With mother of pearl kind of buttons, you'll look like the Astors and the Huttons. You've either got or you haven't got charm. Style and charm sorta go arm in arm. When you wear those duds with those white tie and studs, watch those dolls lining up single file. You've either got or you haven't got or you haven't got or you haven't got style.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and bright, and I pity any girl who isn't me tonight. I feel charming, oh so charming. It's alarming how charming I feel, and so pretty that I hardly can believe I'm real. See the pretty girl in that mirror there. Who can that attractive girl be? Such a pretty face, such a pretty dress, such a pretty smile, such a pretty me. I feel stunning and entrancing, feel like running and dancing for joy, for I'm loved by a pretty, wonderful boy.
She feels pretty, oh so pretty. She feels pretty and witty and bright.
And I pity any girl who isn't me tonight.
Any girl who isn't she tonight. She feels charming, oh so charming. It's alarming how charming she feels.
And so pretty that I hardly can believe I'm real.
She's so pretty that she hardly can believe she's real.
See the pretty girl in that mirror there.
Who can that attractive girl be?
Such a pretty face, such a pretty dress, such a pretty smile, such a pretty me.
Such a pretty face, such a pretty dress, such a pretty smile.
I feel stunning and entrancing, feel like running and dancing for joy, for I'm loved by a pretty, wonderful boy.
looking good. What brings you down to the old neighborhood? Just looking for the best pals that I ever had. I never thought that I'd want them so bad. Gee, but I'd give the world to see that old gang of mine. I can't forget that old quartet that sang Sweet Adeline. Goodbye forever, old fellows and gals. Goodbye forever, old sweethearts and pals. God bless them, gee, but I'd give the world to see that old gang of mine. Say, Eddie, wouldn't it make you feel good to have the gang back in our old neighborhood? It sure would. You know, when I look at those houses unchanged by the years, in my throat there's a lump and my eyes fill with tears. Take a peek at that lamppost, the old pump, and that stoop. Say, can't you remember us kids in a group? There was Shorty and Red, and Skinny and Mike, and the rich kid with the ball bearing skates and a bike. Gee, those were happy days. You remember the parties and dances? That's why we didn't notice the years drifting by. And the first thing we knew, we were all 21. But the gang stuck together in fight or in fun. And then came the war, the crowds in the street, the blast of the bugle, the tramp of the feet. And the gang, those pals of yours and mine, were the first of the bunch to fall into line. Say, what's the matter, buddy? There's a tear in your eye. I can't help it, Bill. I don't know a face in the crowd going by. Gee, but I'd give the world to see that old gang of mine. I can't forget that old quartet that sang Sweet Adeline. Goodbye forever, old fellows and gals. Goodbye forever, old sweethearts and pals. God bless them, gee, but I give the world to see that old gang of mine.
Does it do to change my mind about you?
right, well, what did you hear in that set? That last one there was I Can't Change My Heart. That was Peggy Mann with Larry Clinton and his orchestra. The music was by Jerome Brannon, and words by Alan Roberts. So that was copywritten on May 9th, 1941. It was from an album that I have of Peggy Mann with the Larry Clinton Orchestra. I played a track off of it last week. I might have played 2 tracks off of it. In other words, I'm working my way through it. I think I played 1 track off of it, and this is the next one. So hopefully you enjoyed that tune. Peggy Mann, a great singer. Before that Old Gang of Mine, that was Billy Murray and Ed Smalley, a wonderful duo. I played a couple of their recordings in the history of this show. I think the one that I played was, they did a version of My Sweetie Went Away, which is always a fun one. The music to this one, though, was written by Ray Henderson, the words by Billy Rose and Mort Dixon from 1923, so that's an old one. It was popularized in the Ziegfeld Follies of 1923 by another one of my favorite duos, Van and Schenk. So hopefully you enjoyed that one. Very popular song back in the day. Before that, Joe Corey, who just recently celebrated an 80th birthday, I believe, singing that 1957 song, I Feel Pretty, from West Side Story. The music was by Leonard Bernstein, the lyrics by the great Stephen Sondheim. Yes, Joe Corey just turned 80. She is alive and well, living in California, I believe. So I'm glad to hear it. Always glad to hear when singers from that generation are doing well. So there you go, I Feel Pretty. Before that, Style, there was Sammy Kahn from this album that I have of Sammy Kahn, Sing Sammy Kahn. This was from the 1964 film Robin and the Seven Hoods. Music, of course, was by Jimmy Van Heusen, and I believe this record came out in the 70s, maybe 1977. So I hope you enjoyed that. Well, a few weeks ago we had Columbus Day, and I totally skipped it because I was just unable to have a show that day. But fortunately, I still have some of my Christopher Columbus music that I was going to play, ready to play today. So today I have Christopher Columbus, an appropriately titled song. This is Benny Goodman and his orchestra playing this tune by Chu Berry and Andy Razaf from 1936, a wonderful duo. And Benny Goodman does it upright. So here's Christopher Columbus right here on Don's American Songbook.
without a penny, the wolf was discreet. He left me my feet, and so I put them down on anything but the La Belle, la perfectly swell romance. Never gonna dance, never gonna dance, only gonna love, never gonna dance. Have I a heart that acts like a heart, or is it a crazy drum beating the weird tattoos of the St. Louis blues? Have I two eyes to see your two eyes, or see myself on my toes, dancing on radios for Major Edward Bowes? Though I'm left without a penny, the wolf was discreet. He left me my feet, and so I put them down on anything but the La Belle, la perfectly swell romance. Never gonna dance, only gonna love, never gonna dance. I'll put my shoes on beautiful trees. I'll give my rhythm back to the breeze. My dinner clothes may dine where they please, for all I really want is you. And to Groucho Marx I give my cravat, to Harpo goes my shiny silk hat, and to heaven I give a vow to adore you. I'm starting now to be much more positive that though I'm left without a penny, the wolf was not smart. He left me my heart, and so I cannot go for anything but the La Belle, la perfectly swell romance. Never gonna dance, never gonna dance, only gonna love you, never gonna dance.
It's easy to see you always will be so essential to me. Like red, white, and blue, like Heinz is to pickles, like sweet is to Sue, like buffaloes to nickels. It's easy to see you always will be so essential to me. Like egg white is to a silver fizz, that's just the way you blend with my heart. To make it brief, it's my belief your Franklin D. smile, you're all that's worthwhile. Essential to me, like songs to a singer. Essential to me, like rings to a finger. And speaking of rings and Lohengrin things,
Amos to Andy, you're essential to me. Like Lyndon to Gandhi, it's easy to see. You always will be. You're so essential to me.
Like Berg and his men for Charlie McCarthy, like cash for the rent, like guests at a party. It's easy to see that you're meant to be. Just so essential to me.
Like almonds are to a chocolate bar, I'm nutty over sweet little you.
Let's make it brief, it's our belief that there is nothing else that we can do. Like grace to a dancer, you're essential to me. Like yes for an answer.
And speaking of yes, I hope you'll confess you're so essential to me.
How strange it was, how sweet and strange. There was never a dream to compare with that hazy, crazy night we met when a nightingale sang in Berkeley Square. This heart of mine beat loud and fast, like a merry-go-round in a fair. For we were dancing cheek to cheek, and the nightingale sang in Berkeley Square. When dawn came stealing up all gold and blue to interrupt our rendezvous, I still remember how you smiled and said, was that a dream or was it true? Our homeward step was just as light as the tap dancing feet of a stair, and like an echo far away when a nightingale sang in Berkeley Square. When dawn came stealing up all gold and blue to interrupt our rendezvous, I still remember how you smiled and said, was that a dream or was it true? The streets of town were paved with stars. It was such a romantic affair. And as we kissed and said goodnight, when a nightingale sang in Berkeley Square. I know 'cause I was there that night in Berkeley Square.
All right, so what did you hear in that? So that last one there was a very beautiful song called A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square. That was Anita O'Day singing that tune. Music by Manning Sherwin and the lyrics by Eric Maskowitz from 1939. So hopefully you like that one. Before that, I took another cut off that Peggy Man album with Larry Clinton and his orchestra. That was Essential to Me, a wonderful song that was written by Fred Stryker and Mort Green from 1941. Peggy Man was duetting there with a man named Butch Stone. So there you go, Essential to Me, a wonderful song. Before that, one of those classic Fred Astaire and Johnny Green recordings, that was Never Gonna Dance, with Johnny Green and his orchestra, written by Jerome Kern and Dorothy Fields from the 1936 film Swing Time, a wonderful film. And before that, Christopher Columbus, that was Benny Goodman and his orchestra, playing that song by Chu Berry and Andy Razaf from 1936. So hopefully you enjoyed that set of music. I have another set of music for you all. I have another Sammy Kahn connection here. This is a tune called Teach Me Tonight. The music is by Gene DePaul and the lyrics by Sammy Kahn. It was written in 1953, and this tune was popularized by the DeCastro sisters in 1955. So a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now, I played you a recording of Sammy Kahn, An Evening with Sammy Kahn, those lyrics and lyricist series that was orchestrated by Maurice Levine at the 92nd Street Y. And Sammy tells a great story about Teach Me Tonight, about he wrote this song in 1953 and it wasn't a very popular hit, but then he got a call from a DJ who said that people were requesting Teach Me Tonight. And he said who recorded it. It was the DeCastro sisters. So he was surprised that it was kind of becoming a hit all these years later, just a few years later, 2 years later after he wrote it. So I have that recording that Sammy Kahn heard and was shocked to hear that it had become successful. So here's Teach Me Tonight, the DeCastro sisters, right here on Don's American Songbook.
Did you say I've got a lot to learn? Well, don't think I'm trying not to learn, since this is the perfect spot to learn. Teach me tonight, starting with the ABC of it, right down to the XYZ of it. Help me solve the mystery of it. Teach me tonight. The sky's a blackboard high above you. If a shooting star goes by, I'll use that star to write I love you 1,000 times across the sky. One thing isn't very clear, my love. Should the teacher stand so near, my love? Graduation's almost here, my love. Teach me tonight. One thing isn't very clear, my love. Should the teacher stand so
Drink to me.
Drink to me only with thine eyes, and I will pledge with mine.
Drink to me.
Or leave a kiss within the cup, and I'll not ask for wine. The thirst that from the soul doth rise doth ask a drink divine. But might I of Jove's nectar sup, I would not change for thine. I sent thee late a rosy wreath, not so much honoring thee as giving it a hope that there it could not withered be. But thou thereon didst only breathe, and send'st it back to me. Since when it grows and smells, I swear, not of itself, but thee. Drink to me.
Only.
Charlie is an ordinary fellow to most everyone but Flo. Here's Flo. She's convinced that Charlie is a very extraordinary beau. Some beau. And every evening in the dim light, she has a way of putting him right. Charlie, my boy, oh, Charlie, my boy, you thrill me, you chill me with shivers of joy. You've got the kind of sort of bit of a way that makes me, takes me, tell me, what shall I say? And when we dance, I read in your glance whole pages and ages of love and romance. They tell me Romeo was some lover too, but boy, he should have taken lessons from you. You seem to start where others get through. Oh, Charlie, my boy. Charlie. Charlie, my boy. Oh, Charlie, my boy. You thrill me, you chill me with shivers of joy. You've got the kind of sort of bit of a way that makes me, takes me, tell me, what shall I say? And when we dance, I read in your glance whole columns and volumes of love and romance. I know the neighbors hated you at a glance, and I've been warned by cousins, uncles, and aunts. But like Columbus, today I'll take a chance. Oh, Charlie, my boy.
dance, I read in your glance. Just doodles with noodles of love and romance. I have a millionaire proposing to me. I think I'll marry him, though he's 83. Think what a wealthy widow I'll be. Oh, Charlie, my boy.
Who's there?
It ain't no square, it's your good doing daddy.
Well, I declare, if I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake, baked a cake, baked a cake. If I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake. How'd you do?
How'd you do?
How'd you do?
Should I drop you a letter?
I'd have hired a band,
The biggest band
in the land. Had you dropped me a letter, I'd have hired a band and spread the welcome mat for you.
Now I don't know where I came from, 'cause I don't know where I've been.
But it really doesn't matter. Grab a chair and fill your platter and dig, dig, dig right in. If I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake.
Hired a band?
Well, for goodness sake! If I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake. How'd you do? How'd you do? How'd you do? Who's there?
It ain't Jack the Bear, and I'm coming in to see you.
Well, look who's here.
If you knew I was coming, you'd have baked a cake.
Baked a cake, no mistake.
If you knew I was coming, you'd have baked a cake. How'd you do?
How'd you do?
How'd you do? If you knew I was coming, you'd have cooked a goose.
Cooked a hoose?
A goose moose. If you knew I was coming, you'd have cooked a goose.
And spread the welcome mat for you. Now I don't know where you came from, 'cause I don't know where you've been. But it really doesn't matter.
I'll grab a chair and fill my platter and dig, dig, dig right in. If you knew I was coming, you'd have had a meal.
7 cars.
Mostly horse. If you knew I was coming, you'd have had a meal.
How'd you do? How'd you do? How'd you do?
Gee, it's so darn good to see you, and I've planned a good long stay.
If you only gave me warning, I'd have hopped a train this morning and gone the other way.
No!
If I knew you were coming, I'd have taken care
To lock up all the silverware, but I came here to leave $1 million for you.
Oh, you did?
That's right.
How'd you do? How'd you do? Well, come right on in.
I got the stuff right
Don't
here.
be bashful.
Yeah, well,
You
don't
heard
tell
what I
Brinks.
said.
I
I've
got
been
it all
sitting
here in that
my
little
easy
bag.
chair with my
Now,
slippers
look, come on in and
all
put on
day
a record.
waiting
Put on
for
a
you.
record.
Now,
Put
you
on a
never
record.
were this way
Listen,
before.
honey,
You
not
know
too
I've
much
never
noise.
been
The
this
neighbors
way
upstairs
before.
are complaining.
Don't
We'll
be
all
silly.
be thrown out.
All right. Always an interesting one there. If I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake. There are people that love this song. There are people that hate this song. I think it's a charming song. I like it. And that was Ethel Merman and Ray Bolger with Cy Oliver's orchestra. The tune was written by Al Hoffman, the great Bob Merrill, and Clem Watts in 1950. Previously, I've played Hildegard's version of this, I believe. And I think Gracie Fields did a recording of it, too. That was very popular a long time ago. This is a fun duet of the song. Hildegard's has a German chorus in it, so but this is nice, so I'm glad to play it for you guys. Before that, Charlie My Boy, that was Eddie Cantor, classic recording. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Before that, Drink to Me Only with Thine Eyes, that was Maxine Sullivan with Claude Thornhill and his orchestra. Now, this is an old English song, and the lyrics were based on Ben Jonson's 1616 poem called Song to Celia. The melody's author is debated, but it may have been a man named John Wall Calcott in 1790, so that's pretty old. It had been set to a melody in 1756, though, by Elizabeth Turner, which is a little older than that John Wall Calcott melody, but I don't know. Later arrangements were made by Granville Bantock and Roger Quilter. So, interesting song. Maxine Sullivan was pretty popular and early on in her career, and then she made an album, I believe, with Burton Lane under Harbinger Records. So, That's interesting. So, Maxine Sullivan, very good, very good. Before that, Teach Me Tonight, that was the De Castro Sisters, with music by Gene DePaul and the lyrics by the great Sammy Cahn, making his second appearance on this show. It was written in 1953, but this version was popularized in 1955, much to the surprise of Sammy Cahn. So there you go. Well, another album that I was taking tracks off of was this Jimmy Van Heusen Plays Jimmy Van Heusen album. And boy, is Jimmy a great piano player, and he does a very good job making these medleys with an orchestra. So I have to play them. Jimmy McHugh on the piano. In this medley, you get a lot of his very popular songs. You get Swingin' on a Star, it's written in 1944 with lyrics by Johnny Burke. Personality, written in 1945 with lyrics by Johnny Burke. I Thought About You, from 1939, written with Johnny Mercer on lyrics. And Oh You Crazy Moon, that was from 1960, written by Johnny Burke. At least the lyrics were, and the melodies to all those songs were written by the great Jimmy Van Heusen. So here's Jimmy playing his own songs in a nice medley with an orchestra. So hopefully you enjoy this. Check it out right here on Don's American Songbook.
cooking breakfast for the one I love. My baby likes bacon, and that's what I'm making while I'm cooking breakfast for the one I love. Our life has been so nice and charming right from the start. When I won his tummy, I won his heart. My baby is happy, no wonder I'm happy while I'm cooking breakfast for the one I love.
Columbus discovered America in 1492. Then came the English and the French, the Scotsmen and the Jews. Then came the Dutch and the Irishmen to help the country grow. And still they keep on coming, and now everywhere you go, there's the Argentines and the Portuguese, the Armenians and the Greeks. One sells the paper, the other shines the shoes, the other shaves the whiskers off his teeth. And when you ride again on a subway train, notice who has all the seats. Ah, they're all held by the Argentines and the Portuguese and the Greeks. Now there's a little flat where you hang your hat, has a mystery I'll explain. The janitor's Irish, the hobo is a coon, the elevator fellow is a Dane. But who is the gent that collects the rent at the end of each 4 weeks? Ah, that is all done by the Argentines and the Portuguese and the Greeks. There's the Oldsmobile and the Hotmobile and the Cadillac and the Ford. Now these are the motors that you and I can own, the kind most anybody can afford. But the Cunningham and the Mercedes and the Rolls-Royce racing freaks, ah, they're all owned by the Argentines and the Portuguese and the Greeks. Now there's the Argentines and the Portuguese, the Armenians and the Greeks. They don't know the language, they don't know the law, yet they vote in the country of the free. And the funny thing, when we start to sing, my country, 'tis of thee, none of us know the words but the Argentines and the Portuguese and the Greeks. Now there's the Argentines and the Portuguese, the Armenians and the Greeks. When we're departed, our souls will soar up in the heavenly peace. At the Golden Gate, where the angels wait, we'll be asking there for seats. And they'll all be reserved by the Argentines and the Portuguese and the Greeks.
the skies are gray and it's a rainy day, think of the birdies in spring. When you're up to your neck in hot water, be like the kettle and the sing. Tell that umbrella man he's just an also-ran. Think of a kid on a swing. When you're up to your neck in hot water, be like the kettle and the sing. You'll find that life's always got a funny side. So come over on the sunny side and wear a great big smile. It makes your life worthwhile. You'll have the world on a string. When you're up to your neck in hot water, be like the kettle and the sing. When your troubles are boiling over, consult this recipe. Everybody will be in clover, happy as can be. When all the skies are gray and it's a rainy day, think of the birdies in spring. When you're up to your neck in hot water, be like the kettle and sing. Tell that umbrella man he's just an also-ran. Think of a kid on a swing. When you're up to your neck in hot water, be like the kettle and sing. You'll find that life's always got a funny side. So come over on the sunny side and wear a great big smile. It makes your life worthwhile. You'll have the world on a string. When you're up to your neck in hot water, be like the kettle and sing.
All right, well, what did you hear in that set? That last one there is a favorite of mine, Be Like the Kettle and Sing. That was Vera Lynn singing that tune by Tommy Connor, Walter Ridley, and Desmond O'Connor. I believe that was from 1942. The quality of the recording sounds a little bit later. It sounds almost like 50s. But I'm going to stick with 1942 and just hope that's right. But don't quote me on it. My ear is telling me something different. Before that, the Argentines, the Portuguese, and the Greeks. A wonderful, politically incorrect song sung by the Duncan sisters. I picked it because went back to my Columbus Day theme, because Columbus is mentioned in the verse of the song. Columbus discovered America in 1492 is the first lyric of the song. That was recorded on March 19th, 1923. The music was by Carey Morgan and the lyrics by Arthur Swanstrom. I don't think you're going to hear a lot of people recording the songs because there are some derogatory terms and stereotypes used throughout the song, which are now deemed offensive. But for historical purposes, it's interesting. And it's also just a charming little number. I like the Duncan sisters, so their act would not go over very well today, but they're nice, especially when you watch the Liberace episode of Liberace show where the Duncan sisters are there and they sing remembering and memories of their time together as Topsy and Eva. And again, something that would not work today, but still fun. They were kind of a strange group of girls. They got into a lot of trouble and were always in the news, in the entertainment news for their crazy things that they were doing. They have a Chicago connection. They got into a car accident in Cicero, and one of them took a punch in the face from a cop, allegedly, and they were hospitalized out here. And they came up with a song called Mean Cicero Blues, which was kind of their way of telling off the cops in Cicero. And then, ironically, I think it was Vivian, or it might have been Rosetta, I think, was doing a show in Cicero later on in her life and got into a car accident as she was leaving the venue that she was playing at. And the car accident was in Cicero. Oh, dear. and then she ended up dying as a result of that accident. So, that's a stone throw away if I could spit into Cicero from here. But it's kind of sad when you think about that connection in her life. But so 2 bad experiences in Cicero, but they're a charming group of girls. So sorry, that was a very long tangent. I'm making my way through the list of what I played, and I got a bit distracted. It's a fun story though. Before that, Cooking Breakfast for the One I Love. That was Annette Hanshaw from 1930. That was featured in the 1930 film Be Yourself, and the tune was written by William Rose and Henry Tobias. So hopefully you enjoyed that number. Before that big medley of Jimmy Van Heusen tunes. Very quickly, it was Swingin' on a Star from 1944, lyrics by Johnny Burke. Personality, also with lyrics by Johnny Burke from 1945. I Thought About You, that was 1939, and that was written lyrics by Johnny Mercer. And Oh You Crazy Moon, that was from 1960, lyrics back to Johnny Burke. So hopefully you enjoyed that set of music. I certainly did. I think we have time for one more set. So let's kick it off with some more Annette Hanshaw, because she celebrated a birthday she didn't celebrate it, she's dead, but I celebrated her birthday. Believe it's October 17th. So here's Annette Hanshaw singing Button Up Your Overcoat, a 1929 tune by Ray Henderson, who wrote the music. Lyrics were by Buddy DeSilva and Ray Brown. It was published in 1928. So check it out right here on Don's American Songbook.
Listen, big boy, now that I've got you made, goodness, but I'm afraid something's gonna happen to you. Listen, big boy, you got me hooked, and how? I would die if I should lose you now. Button up your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Eat an apple every day, get to bed by 3. Oh, take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Be careful crossing streets, ooh, don't eat meat, ooh, cut out sweets, ooh, you'll get a pain and ruin your tum-tum. Keep away from bootleg hooch when you run a spree. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. When the wind is free, take good care of yourself, you belong to me. And when you stop the traffic cop, better use diplomacy. Oh, take very good care of yourself, you belong to me. Steer clear of frozen ponds, ooh, stocks and bonds, ooh, peroxide blondes, ooh, you'll get a pain and ruin your bankroll. Take the spoon out of your cup when you're drinking tea. Better take very good care of yourself, you belong to me. He's got life insurance now.
And now we take very great pleasure in welcoming the very beautiful and the very talented Miss Peggy King.
I'm gonna love you like no when you met me. It was just one of those things. Well, don't ever bet me, 'cause I'm gonna be true if you let me. You're gonna love me like nobody's loved me, come rain or come shine. Happy together, unhappy together, and won't it be fine? Days may be cloudy or we're in or we're out of the month. I'm with you always. I'm with you, rain or gonna love me like nobody's loved me, come rain or come shine. Happy together, unhappy together, and won't it be days may be cloudy or sunny. We're in or we're out of the money. I love you, baby. I love you, rain or
This is the Mrs. Just look her over. This is the Mrs. She's mine. I'll get those kisses. Now I'm in clover. I caught some fish on my, caught a lot of fish hanging on my line. On those lips, yes sir. On those eyes, yes sir. And a whole lot more of she was worthwhile waiting for. This is the Mrs. She's all mine. Just look her over. She's all mine. This is the Mrs. She's all mine. This is the Mrs. and she's all mine.
The thrill is gone. The thrill is gone. I can see it in your eyes. I can hear it in your sighs. Feel your touch and realize the thrill is gone. The nights are cold, for love is old. Love was grand when love was new. Birds were singing, skies were blue. Now it don't appeal to you. The thrill is gone. This is the end, so why pretend? And let it linger on. will reveal what I feel in my heart. It won't have so much of Franz Schubert's touch, and I can't begin with Irving Berlin. My song, though a poet would never okay, my song, still you know what I'm striving to say. The words may be crude, the tune may be wrong, but you'll find my heart in my song.
Go down, we say good as a vehicle, then chilly walk down and I go down. Ladies and gentlemen, that's love. When the cackle dance, the polka down, the faggle dance, the wiggle deer and huggle up, so leggle dance, come go dance. Ladies and gentlemen, that's love. When the wiggle does the daggle, delta haggle, then doggle, don't forget, go that's an I go die to taggle then. Ladies and gentlemen, that's love.
Someone had a pick to cotton, someone had a plant to corn, someone had a slave and be able to sing. That's why darkies were born. Someone had a laugh at trouble, though he was tired and worn, had to be contented with any old thing. That's why darkies were born. Sing, sing, sing when you're weary and sing when you're blue. Sing, sing, that's what you taught all the white folks to do. Someone had to fight the devil, shout about Gabriel's horn. Someone had to stoke the train that would bring God's children to green pastures. That's why darkies were born.
You work, you save, you worry so, but you can't take your dough when you go, go, go. So keep repeating it's the berries, the strongest oak must fall.
But lee, my biddy, wabba bidda, la, wow.
Life is just a bowl of cherries, so live and laugh at it all.
Life is just a bowl of cherries. Don't make it serious. Life's too mysterious. You work, you save, you worry so, but you can't take your dough when you go. So keep repeating, it's the berries, for the strongest oak must fall. The sweet things in life to you are just loan, so how can you lose what you've never owned? Life is just a bowl of cherries, so live and laugh at 'em all.
Life is just a bowl of cherries. Don't be so serious. Life's too mysterious. You work, you save, and you worry so, but you can't take that good dough when you go. Keep on repeating it's the berries, and the strongest oak must fall. The sweet things in life To you we're just loan. So how you gonna lose what you've never owned? Life is just a bowl of cherries, so live and laugh at it all.
Life is just a bowl of cherries. Don't make it serious. Life's too mysterious. You work, you save, you worry so, but you can't take your dough where you go. So keep on repeating, honey, everything's very strong as oak must fall. The sweet things in life to you are just loan. But how can you lose what you never owned? Life is just a bowl of cherries. Live and laugh at it all, just so you're happy. Live, smile, laugh at it all.
At you, a thought goes through my mind. What a marvelous find you to make upon the screen. I am proud that I have you right by my side, but I'd be satisfied to lend you to the public to be seen. You ought to be in pictures, you're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures, oh, what a hit you would be. Your voice would thrill a nation, your face would be adored. You'd make a great sensation with wealth and fame, your reward. And if you should kiss the way you kiss when we are all alone, you'd make every girl and man a fan worshipping at your throne. You ought to shine as brightly as Jupiter and Mars. You ought to be in pictures, my star of stars.
You ought to be in pictures, you're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures, oh, what a hit you would be. Your voice would thrill a nation, your face would be adored. You'd make a great sensation with wealth and fame, your reward. And if you should kiss the way you kiss when we are all alone, you'd make every girl and man a fan worshipping at your throne. You ought to shine as brightly as Jupiter and Mars. You ought to be in pictures, my star of stars.
You ought to be in pictures, you're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures, oh, what a hit you would be. You're lovely as a Crawford, like Davies you are gay. You surely should be offered a starring part right away. You're sweet as a Gaynor, and you're hot as a gal named West. You'd even make Garbo jealous if you took a movie test. You ought to dress like Cashman and ride in motor cars. You ought to be in pictures, my star of stars.
All right, well, what did you hear in that set? That last one there was You Ought to Be in Pictures. That was Rudy Valley and his Connecticut Yankees singing that tune from 1934. It was written by Dana Suisse, and the lyrics were by Edward Heyman. So hopefully you liked that. Before that, a medley of tunes, which was called, when it was released, Gems from George White's Scandals. This featured Bing Crosby, the Boswell Sisters, and the Mills Brothers with the Victor Young's Orchestra. So it featured virtually all of Brunswick's top recording talent. That was the label that was recorded under, Brunswick. So let's go through what we heard. First you heard the Boswell Sisters singing This Is Mrs., Then you heard Bing Crosby with Tommy Dorsey singing The Thrill Is Gone. Frank Munn with My Song. The Boswell Sisters with Buddy Berrigan. That was Ladies and Gentlemen, That's Love. After that, when that said, was Frank Munn with That's Why Darkies Were Born, which is really not a very politically correct song today. But, again, take it for historical perspective. This would fall into the same vein as the Duncan Sisters. That one was a little more overtly and explicitly racist, but let's just leave it at that. And then the Mills Brothers with Connie Boswell, Bing Crosby, and the rest of the Boswell Sisters with Life is Just a Bowl of Cherries. So hopefully you enjoyed that set of gems from George White's Scandals. Before that, Come Rain or Come Shine. That was Peggy King live. The tune was written by Harold Arlen with lyrics by Johnny Mercer. And it's featured in the show St. Louis Woman. And it was published in 1946. So hopefully you enjoyed that rare recording. I believe it was from television. I don't remember what show. But it's a very rare recording. So hopefully you liked that. And before that, Button Up Your Overcoat. That was Annette Hanshaw from 1929. The tune was written by Ray Henderson. And the lyrics were by Buddy DeSilva and Lou Brown. It was published in 1928. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that song as well. And that whole set and that whole show. That takes me up to the end. Thank you for tuning in. This is a fun show. Got to talk to my guest Patty Farmer, who I have to thank again for coming on my show. The book is Playboy Swings. Please check it out. It's going to be a good read. And thank you for tuning in. I will be back next week, hopefully. If not, I will be back soon. And I will have some more great tunes for you all. So have a good rest of your week. Take care. Be well, and I will see you then.